All right, so Kristine, we're back on. How about we restart for people who couldn't hear you? I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Everyone, this is with a little bit of delay. This is Kristine and I going live on Facebook. And then Lucas, you should tag Ken for us. So today on the Real Talk with Distinctive Delphine, we're going to talk about how to acknowledge anxiety and talk about wellness. We wanted to move away from market updates and really focus on you and your wellness in the community. So Kristine, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And then now you tell me if you can hear Kristine.
Can you hear me?
Hold on, because it's delayed. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay. All right. Yeah, so a little bit, I just wanted to first introduce myself. I'm Kristine Klein. I am a part-time social worker and a part-time realtor in Colorado. So I have my master's degree in social work with a health and wellness emphasis. And I'm just here just supporting another colleague, Delphine. So thank you for having me here. I'm not a registered psychotherapist in the state of Colorado. So basically what that means is I'm not licensed. But what that also means is I can give you resources. I have information that has been given to me from other colleagues. I am working on my licensure, but I'm just not a licensed psychotherapist or a licensed social worker in the state of Colorado.
Great. Well, I think you could still give us amazing resources. So I'd like to start with anxiety. I think it's just very difficult in these uncertain times to manage anxiety, and not just for us, but oftentimes for our friends and how to be there for them. So can you give us a little bit of the tips and what to do?
Sure, yeah. So kind of what you were just talking about with, I think all of us, I think there's a lot of, I'm even feeling it, of just the anxiety of the unknown, right?
Sure.
We're all in information overload at this point with the amount of just information being sent to us hourly, changing of how things are going to, be changed with our own health and safety, but just the health and safety of our nation and worldwide. So, so to kind of help with anxiety, that was kind of the question. The first thing is to listen, to validate how somebody is feeling, and to have compassion and empathy with them. So really trying to put yourself in their shoes and how they might be feeling right now.
Great. And I think sometimes that's very difficult when we're struggling ourselves and we want to jump in and we want to really help, try to help a little too much, but sitting back and listening, I think, is really helpful.
For sure.
Thank you so much. So tell us more a little bit, because you're so involved in the community with social work and other things. I feel like you're really in touch. So can you give us some reliable resources out in the community that we can get the correct information nowadays?
Absolutely. Kind of going back to information overload, I think it's important to make sure we have reliable resources or sources of information. That being said, the first place to get information, I would say, is from your local city's website, whether that be in Montrose, Grand Junction, Telluride, Delta, Olathe, or any city that you reside in. Getting onto your local town's website to get the most up-to-date and accurate information. Another couple places that I would suggest looking at is the Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization. Again, these are, the people to be, getting the most accurate information as well. So
that sounds good. And we'll put some links for you guys in the comments so you can just click and find these organizations easily. I see that Jenna just joined, and thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate what the Montrose Association of Realtors is doing in our community. I feel we're really present and we're helping where we can. So thank you so much. And then why don't you share, you told me that you have a great article that you read recently that you really would like to share 3 little things that you took away from that article. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was actually shared on my own Facebook page, but something that I thought was like a different way of looking at this pandemic that we're going through is that we're all experiencing grief. So we're all experiencing our own stages of grief, whether that might be people being in denial, being angry, or accepting. There's a couple different stages with that. And of course you can look at that, whether that's through Google or Wikipedia, of the stages of grief, but it just did a really interesting spin on the pandemic that I thought was pretty accurate, and that I have been also witnessing firsthand with working at a clinic. But one of the biggest things that I took away from that article is that, is the importance of finding balance and validating where you're at in this. So finding balance in the things that you're thinking. So I understand for a lot of people, you're either working remotely or, you might have kids at home. You also might be caretaking and taking care of other people, whether that be family members or kids. So just really just kind of validating where you're at and just like trying to figure out that balance. Because I understand, like I don't know if I have one of my clients on that's watching this, but I have a client right now that I'm working with in real estate that is working full time, has 3 kids at home, and on top of that has her partner or husband is working an hour away from where they live or where they reside right now. And on top of that, with this whole coronavirus, she's now playing the role of teacher and just trying to find that balance with everything. And I think in a lot of ways it's like we feel like all of a sudden we have to figure everything out right now. And I'm guessing all of us can feel that way right now. Just, it can feel a bit overwhelming, and it's a lot. It's a lot for everyone.
It is a lot for everyone. I agree. And I think some family dynamic, some have been let go or furlough, and it can be a huge challenge as well because you don't know what's coming. Many companies are saying they'll rehire as soon as they can, or it is very stressful. If I can give a little tips to moms, I also work from home full time and I'm a realtor and also have 2 children, is to have a schedule. Having a schedule saves me to know that we're doing math at this time, we're going to do these assignments at this time, or have lunch at this time, because otherwise I get busy, they get busy, it's 2 p.m. and we didn't eat lunch yet. So I feel like getting up in the morning, getting yourself dressed and sticking to a routine and have a schedule really, really helps. I really feel that for me, it's huge. And so going with that as well, I think you have great books that you'd like to recommend to everyone.
Yeah, a couple ones that I've been reading or have read, that I thought would be really good. And kind of going back, I just wanted to finish that article, like the things that I listed, but then I will go to this, was one of the biggest takeaways that I took from the article is to find balance in the things that you're thinking. So it says, come to the present. So don't think about the future. Don't think about the past. Be in the moment. Be there with your kids. Be there with your partner. Be there with yourself. And look around. A lot of times when I'm anxious, I start in the 5 senses. What do I see? What do I feel? What do I smell? What do I hear? It's really important. I'm missing the 5 senses here. I'm trying to see, feel, hear, taste. What am I tasting? So it's important to make sure that you stay in the present, and to not have kind of this doomsday feel of things. I feel like right now there's a lot of people that are just, there's this unknown part of things of just being like, well, we're not even at the curve yet for the United States. What does that mean for us as a nation? What does that mean for my family? What does that mean for myself? So it can be overwhelming for a lot of people. The next thing that I got from that article is let go of what you can't control. So again, kind of going back to the present, there's a lot of things that are out of control for many people, whether that's career-wise or job-wise. But what are the things that you can control? You can control what you're listening to, what you're reading, how you're reacting to things. Yeah. And then the last thing that I got from the article was compassion, which we kind of talked about a lot, was the compassion and empathy piece. So just having compassion for others and for yourself. There's, different identities, different walks of life, different experiences that people may be having. And just to know that right now there's people that might have family members or loved ones in the hospital right now. And there might be people that, are self-isolating, that can't be around people because they're immune compromised and, medically fragile. And just to be understanding that there's some people that are living paycheck to paycheck, and now that they don't have a job, they are scared for their livelihood and for their families and what this means. So just to have compassion.
I think it's also very important in Montrose to remind everyone the Center of Mental Health is open. The Center of Mental Health has a great resources for locals who are struggling. So please make sure that you join and you really reach out to, it's giving an echo, that you reach out to your local resources, because Montrose is an amazing community. And while talking about that, I really kind of want to accentuate the fact that Sue Henson has put together a community call where you can talk about what you need, you can talk about what you can do, how you can volunteer, and what you can do for the community. So we'll have her on next week to talk more about that. But I do think that it is so important to acknowledge that our community is really strong together. The town of Montrose and DART has put together great resources for small businesses, so make sure you tap into that. And I'll put, every day we'll address a specific topic, and I'll put more information in the comments. So just to kind of summarize, we've got definitely compassion and empathy is something that everyone needs to remember. And compassion and empathy is not only important for ourselves, because you feel so great when you're there for others and you can listen. It is so hard sometimes to put yourself in their shoes, because if you're doing better, you might not understand how stressful it might be for them. But trying is all we're asking. Just give it a try. I loved what you talked about with finding balance. I think the balance is so important, from balancing schedule, from balancing, I love the 5 senses and how to just pause and sometimes just breathe. There is a free app called Headspace that just teaches you to sometimes stop and breathe. And that's all we need to do. And then let go of what you can't control. Fantastic. Love that. I think that's that's definitely a great tip. And then we'll put some link in the comments. Do you have anything else for us?
Just a few other things for, just ways to kind of reduce anxiety. I just wanted to say that there's a couple other podcasts that I wanted to suggest. I love the one that you suggested, but the Happiness Lab, it's through a professor named Lori Santos, who's a professor at Yale University. She also does the well-being, which is like an online certificate that you can get as well, but she's amazing. Some other things to think about too that I've been hearing over and over from many people is to, again, like you were saying about routine is so important, is to build healthy habits right now. You know, and I think what's interesting is like during times like this, or in other times as well, is when you get some setbacks, you know, like right now, there's a lot of setbacks for many people, is you start to realize that, oh, maybe I don't have as good of like coping skills or coping mechanisms in place to make sure that I'm being taken care of. So some of the things that I would suggest is journaling daily, meditation. And then I wanted to do a shout out to my friend, Heather Blakeman, who's an online instructor right now. She usually is in Telluride, actually. She's based out of Telluride, but she's an online trainer, and she does nutrition courses as well. So I think right now, taking advantage of online courses and, you know, just getting healthy, you know, doing the healthy things and connecting with other people. Stay connected. Don't isolate yourself. Whether that be with FaceTime, Facebook, Zoom meetings, Skype, stay connected with people. You know, this is a weird time in our lives that instead of being able to give people a hug and say, I'm so sorry this is happening, we have like a 6-foot distancing mandated, you know, stay at home order, you know, for the most of, you know, the state of Colorado and other states, you know, in the United States. And so, again, just staying connected is so important right now.
I agree. And let's put Heather's information down in the comments too. I think it's very important to also stay connected with your local gyms, because they have to close and they cannot give you lessons, but a few instructors on those pages are giving you great tips on what to do, how to do it, how often. And I think that's definitely helpful. Nutrition wise, I think it is very, very key to not be at home and eat crap all day, which is very easy when
I'm having the biggest problem with that right now. That is like, I'm stress eating a lot.
The kitchen is right there, and you take a pause, and it's just, it's not like at work when you just brought a few amount of food and that's all you've got, right? And somebody brings in donuts and you're like, oh no. Well, here you have your whole refrigerator, your whole pantry, and it's just so easy to default to that. But just tell yourself that it's better to get on your bike with your kids, or to just take the dog on a walk instead of doing binge watching Netflix. It's so tempting. I have so much catching up to do, but it's just not the right idea.
Right. I think, again, it's finding that balance. You know, making sure and going back to that schedule, you know, waking up consistently at the same time, not staying up till 2 a.m., watching those Netflix series, which are like really addicting. I hear ya.
I'm looking at my son when you say waking up at the same time every day. Last night he was like, why do I have to wake up at a certain time anymore? I'm like, weekends are fine. But it is true. It is difficult to make sure we stick to that routine, but yet it's so important. And I'd love to see those books that we talked about and get some recommendation, because now is the time. I will tell you, books are just so different. I can get lost in a book like I cannot in a movie.
This is just an all-time favorite of mine. I know it's flipped. The Alchemist.
Yes.
One of my favorites. You know, I think it just has a lot of good information or good guidance on just life in general.
It is my mom's favorite.
Is it?
It is.
It's one of definitely my top 5 for sure.
She lives by that book.
The Strength Finder is really good. It you know, it's great. It's based on the APA, so American Psychological Association. So this is like great information of just finding out what strengths you have as an individual. And actually you can do an online test, which is kind of cool. So it tells you what your top 3 strengths are. And
I like that, because I feel like as human beings, we focus on our weaknesses all the time. You know, I'm good at this, but I need to be better at that. I need to be, and it can be sometimes so exhausting. I feel that if we could just focus on our strengths and look at what we're best at, and it's so hard to acknowledge them in ourselves. I can acknowledge my strength in my children, in my friends, but to acknowledge them in myself, it took about 40 years to get there.
Right.
And just for a few.
No, I mean, I think just like you're saying, society-wise, we are always like, well, you know, what we really should focus on is like what you need to improve on. So I completely hear you on that.
Yeah.
This was something that was actually given out to a lot of Coldwell Banker realtors. One word. This was actually given to me by my mom, Joni Klein, who's also a realtor with Coldwell Banker Distinctive Properties. But this was a great thing to have. It's called One Word That Will Change Your Life. It's a quick read. You could literally finish it in a day. Nice. But it helps you figure out what your word is for the year and what your focus is. So mine is growth for this year, which I feel like I'm doing professionally and with everything. But great book, great read for anybody. Doesn't have to be necessarily for, you know, career-wise or, you know, but just like personal development as well. So, and then my all-time favorite, Brene Brown. I love her. She's my favorite. This is one of my favorite books of hers, The Gifts of Imperfection. She is a licensed clinical social worker. Honestly, like, I hope to grow up and be her someday.
Oh, that's great.
She's an amazing individual, and I feel like she just does a really great job of acknowledging trauma and, you know, imperfections, and just kind of like at that balance that we all try to figure out. But also, like, Braving the Wilderness is another one of her like books that I would suggest, highly suggest. But it's kind of, you know, just, you know, with this polarized view, I guess, of like, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? Not to get into, you know, political stuff, but I think what she does a really good job of is understanding that we hold multiple identities and multiple things.
We don't need to put everything in one basket.
Right, exactly. She just does a really good job of doing that. She's like from Texas, like, I don't know, or she currently lives in Texas, so she like kind of talks about her perspective of being like living there, but also being a social worker, and just like the, you know, her being a mother, and just some different experiences that she's had. But she has a really great TED Talks as well. Highly suggest Brene Brown. She's awesome.
Awesome. Well, we've got some homework to do, you and me, to make sure that we put all of the links in the comments. Is there any questions? We've got about 23 people on live. If you have any questions, type your questions, and we're just happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you're struggling and you need resources, please post on Kristine's page or my page. We're just really here to help. We just want to make sure that everyone has access to updates on the community and resources specifically. All right. Do you have anything else for us today?
I don't think so. I just wanted to, you know, just say, you know, we're all in this together. We're all experiencing this right now, which is kind of an unusual thing. You know, a lot of times when it's trauma or certain traumatic events that happen, it's sometimes really hard to be empathetic, or hard to put yourself in into somebody else's shoes. So, you know, community is everything. And again, just staying connected. Don't self-isolate, but also be smart. Like, you know, follow what the precautions are. You know, wash your hands, don't touch your face. I noticed I did that a few times during our video, and I'm like, oh my gosh, don't touch my face. You know, so, but, you know, just making sure you're following the guidelines that, you know, the Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization are sending out, that our community is sending out to us as well.
Yes. And just remember too, we're all in this together, but this too shall pass. It will get better. This is not going to remain this way. It will get better. And I think it is hard to remember that when we are uncertain about how long it's going to last. We do not know how long it's going to last. We do not know what the markets are going to be doing tomorrow or in an hour from now. But in the meantime, we do know it's going to get better. And when it gets better, it's going to be really good, because we will all have that perspective on how great it is to be able to give a handshake, on how great it is to give a friend a hug and to get together. And I think we're losing that so much as a society with electronics all over, that I think it really is realigning priorities and giving a better perspective on how the human contact is so missed nowadays.
Absolutely. I totally understand that. I am self-isolating. I'm just going to work and then coming home, not seeing my family. So I totally hear you on that. It's, I think, day 9 of me not having seen my family, just because I have some family members that are immunocompromised and they can't.
It's the same for my mom. She feels very lonely. She has an autoimmune disease and she can't see anyone. And it's very difficult, even bringing her groceries. She washes her hands 10 times and moves the bags a different way. It's a difficult time, but it will pass and we'll get through this all together. So reach out to your resources. Make sure you reach out to us. We're here for you. You can text, you can call, you can definitely put more information on this page. I think it will help. I'll open it to the public. I'll make sure it is. And then I will do better next time with the connection. I'm sorry about that.
No, I think this was us doing kind of our trial round of this as well. So I think this is awesome. I think this is a great resource for anybody. And I'm happy that we got to do this. This was great.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll put the recording on YouTube too, if anyone wants to refer back. And then let's post all of these links in the comments, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks so much. That was The Real Talk with Distinctive Delphine.
Thank you.
Thank you.